Good morning, Solaris 7. Calgary Battletech brings you Uncivil Discourse with your hosts, Brett, Lee, and commentary from Jacque. Happy Halloween, everyone. We hope you're having a spooktacular day, evening, or whenever it is you're listening to the show. Today's show is a little different. Our next league day isn't slated until November 7th, but we wanted to maintain our bi-weekly content for all of our viewers.
Just so you guys all know, we are now over 400 views and we're still growing strong. Thank you everyone for your interest in our show. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share our channel with your friends and family who are interested in gaming. Because the more people we can get, the more people we're reaching, and the more we can make Battletech League grow.
Yeah, we all want to thank you so much for showing us the love that you have shown. It's amazing. We're floored. We have fans. It's great. We're going to try and keep it up as much as we can for your viewing/listening pleasure.
Today we're going to start off with something kind of spooky. Let's talk about League Boogeymen, or those mechs that scare you so much you're afraid to walk onto the field against them. For me, I'd have to say it would be Mackenzie's DFS2 Devastator with those twin gauze rifles, twin PPCs, and some medium lasers as an afterthought. With gunneer on this mech, it breaks that 3,000 battle value, which makes it almost half of the entire Lance's battle value. Mackenzie is a solid player who understands how the games work. Capping that off, her dice has been coming up with a lot of 8s over the past few games when they're rolling the locations, which means left torsos are taking a big beating. That mech killed the entire Ghost Legion Lance when they played it. I'm having nightmares about this mech.
Way to go, Lee. Take my nightmare and run with it. I'm the one that played her already. Enjoy facing off against her in the playoffs, though. I'm thinking Carstairs Stable's awesome 8Q has me worried. It started with 3 PPCs, upgraded it for double heatsinks. The weight saving, that means it now has 4 PPCs. Moving 3.5, it added jump jets as well. With that standard engine, this mech is going to be near impossible to kill. It's big, it's beefy, it's got a little bit of a chance to get out of a jam. Favorite weapon PPC means it's going to be dishing out a lot of damage downrange. So those PPCs are hitting with a -1 to hit modifier. And the addition of those jump jets means it can leap, move, get up onto a firing position early into the game if it needs to. The only thing that might make this mech a little bit more scary is if Aaron goes ahead and puts combat wisdom on it.
Side note for all of our viewers wondering, combat wisdom is a 5-point primary skill that allows the pilot to force a reroll of any one shot that hits the head. No more head caps from gauze rifles or those autocannon 20s. Well, at least not with the first hit.
For me, I'm going to take it to the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm going to go from the assault category, which everybody's scared of because it's an assault mech. It's I'm going to eat your face. It's a walking pillbox. I'm going to the light end of the spectrum on this one because with the toaster-loving Shadow Division, the 55th, they have got, in my opinion, the League's version of Chucky critters, every little gremlin thing that you can think of that will come out of nowhere and eat your face. I'm talking about that itty-bitty little cicada, 812-8, Clan ERPPC, head capper, moving at an ungodly speed. That sucker will get in behind you and make life scary. Don't got to worry about it taking your head off when it's behind you. Average mech is not going to have enough damage resistance in the rear armor, other than the awesome 8Q, to take a 15-point hit. It's going to get behind you, it's going to stab you in the kidney, and you're going to hurt from it. That's my boogeyman, that itty-bitty little fast mover.
Keeping with the theme of spookiness today, let's look at what we would consider a Casper the Ghost on the field that probably won't hurt you. Looking over the stables, the one that strikes out in my mind is the Jaeger mech fielded by Shitehawk Stables. Michael obviously has this twin AC5, twin AC2 mech in his stable for a reason. It's going to be reaching out from a distance. At short range, you're looking at a minimum range of 3 or 4 for those autocannons. At long range, 4-point hit modifier. You're going to be hitting on 8s if your target didn't move and you didn't move. It's just not an accurate mech. It moves 4/6 at 65 tons. It only mounts 6 tons of armor. So for anyone wondering, that means it's only got 45% coverage. It has the same amount of armor points as it does internal structure.
For me, it's that Blackjack 01. Twin autocannon 2s, 4.64, and center torso ammo. While it might make a great campaign mech, it just doesn't have the firepower or mobility to compete in the league. It's just an easy kill. And in the long run, you're way better to reassign or chassis upgrade to get yourself into something better.
For me, my toothless wonder, I'm going to have to say, is the Crusader 5M. I mean, she's an advanced tech mech, but there's a lot of wastage in it. Flamer, machine gun. I mean, you don't need that much anti-infantry capability. 4.64 is nice, but then again, each of your LRM-15 launchers only have a ton of ammo each. So you're looking at half the match, depending on how many turns you end up playing. After that, you're left with the twin medium lasers, which, granted, medium lasers seem to do a lot of damage when they're paired up, and 2 streak 2s. Like, this thing is underwhelming. We also have some that have risen and taken off through being discarded or reassignment or chassis upgrades. We're going to talk about those for the various stables that have swapped around some rides to give it a better chance.
We have an entire list of mechs that were fielded either as a mistake, or in some cases, they were clearly purchased with a strategy in mind.
Let's go down that list, starting with the one that fell off first. Week 1, we saw the Killer Bunnies reassign their Shadowhawk 2H, a 5.8 mover with an AC5, LRM5, SRM2, and a medium laser, into the Shadowhawk 5M, 5.85 jumping, so it's got that better movement bracket, Ultra AC5, LRM20 instead of a 5, a Streak 2, and a medium laser. It's got an XL engine, endo steel, and double heat sinks. Having talked to the stable manager, I know Laura liked the Shadowhawk, but didn't like that it only jumped 3, and that's why she ended up swapping it out.
Yeah, it's clearly a mech she enjoys. She's been using clan salvage on it to get it up to the LRM launcher being no minimum range, and you get that 5 tons back. So obviously she's a fan of it.
And week 1, we also saw Macross stables reassign the Wolverine 6R, the 5.85 AC5 SRM6 medium laser, into the same Shadowhawk 5M.
Talking to Teo before the league started, he wanted this mech right from the get-go. However, it put him over the 6k BV limit to start with, so went with the Wolverine as a stopgap measure to get in under the cap and then used his first skill points to actually get the mech that he wanted to begin with. He had his first skill point spent before the first game was even played.
I think a lot of our players have their entire season planned out way in advance. Riston's Rogues also did reassignment on game 1, trading in his Kentaro 18, which is 1187 BV, moves 5.8, has 3 SRM6s, an LRM5, and 2 medium lasers. Jeff replaced this with the Kentaro 20, which is the advanced model, at 1357 BV. 170 point difference, but that can make all the difference between a good mech and a bad one. The 20 swaps out one of the SRM6s for a large laser, which Jeff recently clan salvaged into the clan ER large laser, 10 points of damage and reaches all the way across the battlefield out to 25 hexes. And cased the mech up, so it can actually be a threat at any range and way more survivable.
If I remember correctly, the Kentaro died first 3 games due to ammo explosions before he got that clan salvage in there.
We do not need case, we die like men! In week 2, we saw the Cobra Chickens swap out the 4-piece swayback, which is normally a nightmare, for another hunchback, but they bumped up to the 4J, went with the twin LRM-10s. I can obviously say that the Cobra Chickens are very much enjoying the LRMs, and this one is typically paired up with the Cobra Chickens Orion, which has the Clan Narc. Now, you might be thinking, why a Clan Narc when there are so many other better clan weapons for the pirates to upgrade to, kind of like the executive decisions Clan LRM-20 on their Orion? Well, I think for the Cobra Chickens, it was more a BV limit that they had to play with. And they have been fairly successful in their first few games, hitting with the Narc at the medium to long range bracket, which then allows both the Orion and that 4J to be a bit more accurate to the same level of the Archer with putting missiles on target. That was a fairly good upgrade because also with the 4P, the Cobra Chickens were limited to range. They really had to work on getting in, and they seemed to be having the Orion and the Hunchback paired up as their scrummers, whereas their Archer and their Awesome stay behind doing the firing line. So this was a very good switch up for the Chickens.
Blah, 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 blah. Missiles are good. I don't say blah, 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 blah. I gotta come back from that. John, I think that missiles are the best things going. The long range, low heat, generally pretty good ammo. Swapping a Hunchback with 8 medium lasers out for a twin LRM 10 and 5 medium lasers, I believe. Some people wouldn't see the logic in it. I do. I agree. The more massed LRM fire you can put on a target, the better you are when you do get to close range. So having 2 LRM 10s in it's a great move.
You just have to remember to group fire those mechs. Week 3, we see some executive decision made to swap out the Warhammer 6R, 4, 6, 0 moving, twin PPCs, 16 heatsinks, and an SRM-6, followed up by 2 medium lasers, 2 small, 2 machine guns at 1300 BV. Swapped it out for the Warhammer 7M, twin ER-PPCs, double heatsinks, anti-missile system, SRM-6 rack, 2 medium lasers, coming in at 1487 BV, 188 point difference. Some of the biggest things to notice, though, the range goes from 18 on those PPCs to, 23 on a ER-PPC, and it had a 4 heat overheating on the original, whereas the new one has enough heat sinks to fire them both. Definitely improvement there for the executive decision.
Yeah, that was a good swap for the executive decision, boys. Gives them a little bit more range to reach out. The few games that I saw the Warhammer played, it's more of the support mech, whereas he'll get in with his Banshee when it's not falling on its face, and his Orion with that clan LRM-20 and no minimum range, and get in his opponent's face, and he'll use his Warhammer as the long-range sniper, put some damage on targets.
Yeah, this stable manager clearly had this all mathed out right from the very beginning. They'd picked up the free clan salvage LRM-20 on the Orion in their lance, so they needed to shave some points away, and this is where they came from. This is a textbook example where we see a veteran player using some of the skills available to pre-plan for success before the first dice are even thrown. JP also picked up bribery in the stable, allowing him to choose the size of the map he starts with, instead of rolling for it, for making the terrain work for him. And I'm a big proponent of making sure you look at those maps and decide which side you need to be on to best improve your game. And week 4, we saw the Red Sun Irregulars dropping the Victor that moved 464, Gauss rifle variant even, and pick up one of the ever-popular Awesome 9Ms. 4.6 with no jump jets but carrying 3 ER-PPCs. I have one in my lance, and as long as you're willing to manage the sudden +5 heat versus the +2 heat that just the weapon systems create in the Awesome, once you're ready to play around with that mech is great.
Yeah, Gary was probably looking for a battle buddy for his Caesar. The Gauss, ER-PPC, Personal Vendetta, it's again a good setup for a firing line to stay in the back and just put damage down range while your opponent closes with you. Getting whacked by the 15-point Gauss rifle and then multiple 10-point hits from the ER-PPCs. I mean, as you're closing, that damage adds up, and then once you get in a knife fighting range, you're pretty much a piece of Swiss cheese.
I'm in agree with that. I've never been a fan of the Victor. If it's the Gauss rifle variant with the SRMs and the medium pulse lasers, the SRMs and pulse lasers are wasted because you're sniping away with the Gauss rifle. If you're moving in close, you should have the AC-20 variant. That's the one that the 55th Shadow is fielding. But it's just too fragile of a platform. Doesn't have the armor. Putting all that weight into jump jets, making your weapons unreliable if you are jumping sometimes. It's not a good mech. It's not a victory, in my opinion. Well, fans, that wraps up some of our Ghosts of Mechs Past. We're going to be going into the interview today. We have the Ghost of the Commissioner Past. the original instigator of the league, rising from the grave to share a few words. Take it away, Lee.
For this year's Halloween special, we've decided to invite the original, the OG commissioner of the Calgary Battletech League, Stu Angevine. He started the league way back in the day, and he's actually the author who created all of our rules that we're basing the league off this year. That includes all of the typos. They're his fault. Wink, wink. Anyway, Stu, welcome to League.
Pleasure to be here.
The way we do things with Uncivil Discourse is that we'll ask you a series of questions, and we'll just see where they take us from there. They're usually around 5 questions, but there can always be more. We'll see how things go, and we'll see what we can do about having some fun. Question number 1. When and how did League become a thing? Our Caspers records were damaged in the passing years during the Jihad, and we only have sketchy, incomplete information.
How did the league become a thing? I think, now we're trying to go back like 2 decades. If I remember right, I had the idea at the Sentry Box in Calgary to have a Battletech tournament, and I had a big board that was almost the size of a ping pong table that everyone could stand around. Memory serves, I designed all the mechs around the miniature, and I brought them, and whoever showed up to the tournament showed up to the tournament. And we were having a great time. We had about 10, 15 people, if I remember. Everyone was having, like I said, a really good time. And halfway through the day, I made an offhand comment. And it was simply, this is so much fun, we should have a league. And literally 10 to 15 heads on a swivel spun towards me with gaping, yes! Right on, that's awesome, do it! So that's kind of how the league was born. You know, it was from a Battletech tournament that the players participating were having so much fun that they wanted to have a league. I got to it.
Right on. That's actually, it was. I wonder if that was the tournament we won, Brett.
No, this was a long time before that. This was probably 2 years before that tournament.
League has really lasted. It's been part of the landscape for Calgary's Battletech community for, well, since 1998. I think you were saying that you might have started it, or at least around that time. Did you have a vision of what you wanted League to be, and what you wanted it to be at the end game, or did you get to that point?
What I wanted the league to be, what I envisioned it to be, a reason for everyone to get together, play Battletech, primarily number 1, but number 2, just hang out, have fun with your peers. You know, the best part of the league, in my opinion, was win or lose, you still hung out and you watched other people play. And I kind of refer to it as collecting chairs at the end of the table. Because at the Sentry Box, we used to play on these large, thin picnic tables. And after you lost or you won your match, instead of just packing up your stuff and going home, oftentimes people would grab a chair and they would pick a game and they would sit down at the end of the table. And you'd have 5, 6 people sitting at the one table, all either playing or observing, watching, talking with each other, having fun, eating a lunch, whatever the situation was. That's what I kind of wanted the league to be. A collecting point of people being able to spend an afternoon with like-minded individuals, have an enjoyable day.
Yeah, and I do remember standing as a crowd watching some of the games of the week. People that you knew that was coming. That's what I've got to say is one of the best things about the set schedules where you know who you're playing against, is that weeks in advance, you know you're playing Stu, or you're playing Brett, or you're playing Lee, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to play against that guy. And then everybody kind of gets that vibe and gets that energy going. And when the game day finally comes and you and I are facing across each other from the table, and other people's games are done, they're like, oh, these guys have been smack talking for weeks. And next thing you know, 2 or 3 people are standing at the end of the table, 4 or 5, and you get an oohs and ahs depending upon what you're doing. Battletech may not be a spectator sport for non-Battletech players, but when you're into the game, I can watch Battletech all afternoon.
So yeah, that's kind of one of the fun things about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. It's like the Sportsnet of Battletech. So,
yeah, exactly. With a schedule, no less.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Like that's one of the things I really enjoy is that anticipation of what's upcoming. League has been around in some form or another for almost 20 years. It's actually been 21 years if you take a look at the 1998 start. How does it feel to have started something that has become part of the Calgary Battletech landscape, and it's even outside the Calgary city limits? We have people down in the States who are still following League. We have people, because of Facebook and the reach it has for different communities, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Saskatoon, all these people know about Calgary Battletech League, and it's part of conversation. What do you think about the fact that you started that?
In one word, surreal. The beginnings of it were kind of minor, right? Like, we just went over question number one. Like, what did I envision the league being? And it was just, people getting together and having fun. But it was also another way to play BattleTech, I can maybe say, is when we took the factions and we split them up amongst their tech tree, where you had to actually incorporate a heavy Gauss rifle, or if you were a Lyran or whatever, that added flavor to it that you might not otherwise have in your weekend gaming. To now see, and I wasn't aware of this, like, you're blowing my socks off right now, Lee, that it's like almost continent wide here with fans in the States and fans provincially. It's gratifying. It's fun to know that the game spread like that as our version of the game. You know what I mean? Everybody can just go to a store and buy the box set and play BattleTech, but having a little bit of a structure around it that a lot of people appreciated, and they could see why the structure was in place and how it enhanced the gameplay. Yeah, it's satisfying. It's gratifying. I got to be honest.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way. We keep your name in every book, every packet. You're given a nod. We've tried to add Bruce and myself to them as well, because the work we've done. And Brett will be in them from now on as well. Because when you're willing to take the reins on to be admin, you're willing to take on the headaches and I was going to swear there, but the regular BS that comes along with being a admin.
The 2 to 3 hour daily commitment.
The recording this podcast at midnight, the regular show is usually recorded midnight Sunday night. The 8 to 10 hours of editing I do, and then trying to keep this stuff on the Facebook up to date.
Yeah, so. I can relate. It was so funny because sometimes I would edit sentences just so it would fit on a page. Had I just typed it out the way I really wanted to type it out, it would have been a lot more explanatory. So that's bad on me. But yeah, putting the package together was quite a chore. Then you're designing the mechs, and you're fielding constant phone calls from people. I want to use this manager, but I can't fit these weapons. And it's kind of like a challenge, but it's kind of like a welcome challenge, if I can say.
Yeah, it's a labor of love for sure.
Yeah, like, you're doing it out of the enjoyment out of the game. They're people who are trying to, say, make a specific mech with a specific weapon are doing it because they have a vision in their head that they want to play that. And to try and meet the requirements of the Sentry Box, who is giving us space to play in for free, I don't know, like, what you deem as a rule set that makes things an even playing field is kind of a little bit of a chore, but it's a fun chore.
Moving on to our final question, then we might just chat for a little bit. Do you have any comments for the current players, some of whom you know, like Jeff and Brett, and I believe you know Chris Crooks. He played in League, and myself, of course, and some that you are now just learning how to play and what it means to be a leaguer. Do you have anything you want to say to them?
Have fun. The whole idea of the BattleTech League is camaraderie, in my opinion. I don't know if it sounds to me like you guys are keeping the spirit of the league alive and well, which is fantastic. It's not just about sitting down and playing your opponent and then going home. My vision of the league is still intact, and you guys have kept it running, like the way I envisioned it. It's everybody coming together, playing, having fun, and then sticking around. Just not losing, winning, packing up, and going home. It's losing or winning and then sitting down at another table. So congratulations on that. For the new players, BattleTech is chess with dice. And it takes a little bit of time to get comfortable with it. But when you're at a point where you're driving to work and you're designing mechs in your head right down to the tonnage, you got it made. You'll be able to play and hang with anybody. And then it becomes less of a challenge because you know the numbers You know the ranges. You can do the math in your head. And it becomes speed chess at that point. And it's really, really entertaining. And it's a fun, engaging game.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I remember doing exactly that, designing mechs in my head, designing the heat profiles, what I would use them for. Another one that I found that League actually taught me, like I thought I knew Battletech and I thought I knew how to play when I first started League. And if I remember correctly, the first season I just got curb stomped, and I was in the B division, was as soon as you can see past the numbers, you know they're there, you can calculate them in your head, but they don't stop you from coming up with a tactic. That you're like, okay, there's a reason why I'm willing to shoot at 10s instead of on 8s on this situation, or I moved because I want to do this. As soon as that starts coming into point, and when you start being able to plan 2 or 3 turns ahead and kind of clue into what your opponents are going to do, that's you've zoned in at that point. You're ready to play with anybody at that point, and at any table at any speed.
Here's the power of the League, though, right? If you think about it, we're pulling memories out from 20 years ago on certain roles. This is really a cool conversation to have, where I can remember comments that people made 20 years ago about my Akuma, for example, from other tables. Like, Paul was playing behind me, and he's like, Jesus, dude's Akuma scares me, man, because I was playing Jim Lucas. And I was down 3-1. All I had left was my Akuma, and I was pulling the game out of my butt. Because I was killing Jim off one by one, and Paul was just incredulous sitting behind me. He couldn't believe what was happening. But little fun stuff like that is what the League is about. Because, we can play in a group where we might know 5 people, right? But now you've got the experience of 22 other people that you've played against. And that's what's so fun about the League. In my opinion, I think that's great.
Yeah, we had an interview with Jason Forbes just recently. He interviewed Brett and I, and he asked us, what's that thing that keeps pulling you back to Battletech versus all of these other games that have been getting produced and the Kickstarters? And it's actually those stories that you just talked about. I can tell you stories of Battletech League and Battletech in general that happened. I've been playing 30 years. I remember some of my very first games where Ken kicked my ass for 3 months straight. I never won a game trying to learn how to play this silly-ass game. But once all of a sudden I figured it out, I was hooked and I was in. And just like this situation, we're pulling up stories from 20 years ago that I can remember sitting at the box, sitting on the mezzanine, watching Bruce playing at one table, watching, was it Dave Marshall playing on another, Brett being there for years, Ed, all this kind of stuff, watching these guys playing, hoping to eventually be an A division player. It was just amazing how these stories just stay in your head and stay forever. That's pretty much going to be it for the interview. Stu, thank you so much for joining us today.
We're not going to talk about the Phoenix Hawk Memorial Tactical Blunder Award?
Oh, thank you for reminding about that. We sure are. Please, explain to us 2 things. You mentioned this earlier. 1, what started the Phoenix Hawk Memorial Blunder Award? And 2, tell us about the jacket, because that's an urban legend in League as well.
The Phoenix Hawk Memorial Tactical Blunder Award. Paul Crooks, my best friend, had a lance called the Flying Tiger, and he was playing Brenda Heinen. Paul had a Phoenix Hawk, and it was near the end of the match. Paul was in a little bit of a desperate strait, and he decided that he was going to do a death from above attack on Brenda's Devastator, only from like 3 or 2 hexes away. So I walked up and I was just literally passing the table, and I said, "Oh, what's going on here?" And Paul explained to me his tactical thinking. And I said, "Paul, are you sure you want to do that?" And I asked Brenda, I said, "Brenda, can I give Paul a little bit of advice here?" And she goes, "Go ahead, sure, no problem." So I said, "Paul, you're going to get creamed on the way in on this, because this mech here can see you, this mech here can see you. The odds to hit are going to be minimal. You're not even going to make it." And he's like, no, I got this. So, of course, the inevitable happened. He got shot out of the air before he even got close to Brenda's Devastator. So at the end of the season, we're giving out awards. I saved the best for last. It was the Phoenix Hawk Memorial Tactical Blunder Award, and as soon as I read the name out, Paul knew exactly what was happening. And he had this Oh man, look on his face, and he came up grudgingly to get the award.
Perfect.
It was literally just for a big laugh, because you know what? That's the fun part about Battletech, is sometimes your battle plans are changed once you meet contact with the enemy. And this is what happened to Paul. He was sure of himself. He knew what he was going to do. He wanted to pull it out, and it just didn't pan out. So yeah, that was the whole reason for that award. And it was a good laugh. I mean, everybody thought it was hysterical, if I recall correctly. So that was good. And as far as the jacket goes, the jacket was a little bit of a, oh my god, this will be a great reward for the league. Little did I know it was going to be a big center of controversy, because people would slit each other's throats for a nickel for that jacket at the end of the season. You know what I mean? Like, it was quite the reward. But getting the jacket made was a gong show. There was a little tiny print shop that did embroidery, and they were like a block and a half away from my house. I took the artwork for the back of the jacket to the store, and I said, this is what I want for the back of the jacket. And they said, sure, no problem. And you come back in a week and we'll have the artwork done and we'll show you, and we're all ready to go. I go back. Now you have to remember that this is like near the end of the season. So there's a little bit of a time crunch on getting the jacket done, right? I need to have the artwork all finished and everything, so that all I need to do is give them the size of the jacket, and then we'll know, and then we'll get the jacket in time for the final weekend. I go to check out the artwork, and it looked like Picasso did it. I was like, what is this? This isn't even remotely close to the logo. And he's like, what? What's wrong with it? I don't know what to say. It was like somebody tripped over and their face smashed into the keyboard, and that's what they thought the logo looked like. It was ridiculous. So I have to go to work to my regular job, but I'm standing in the shop waiting for the owner to come back to fix the problem. The sister, I must have been livid, because I thought I was calm, but the sister's like, I thought he was gonna like punch someone else. They finally fixed the artwork. It looks pretty damn good. Ed Vandenboss wins the first jacket. He beat me, I think, in the final. We had a second jacket that went to Bruce Ford. And then I don't know what happened, but I think that the competition in the second season was a little bit ugly. And I decided that maybe a jacket wasn't the best way to go. Maybe something was like a trophy would be better. Is that how it happened?
Yeah, it was so competitive. Like, this was once again before my time, but it was so competitive. Like you said, people were willing to slit somebody's throat over a nickel to get further up in the standings to have a chance to win it. And then you went to gift certificates, and I can't remember what else there was. It might have just been gift certificates for quite a few seasons. The trophy didn't come in until the last season of the original league. And then it's been following through. I got that commissioned and made up for the exact same reason. You're not playing for the trophy to get to take home. You get to have your name, your plaque, and all this stuff immortalized on the trophy. And then you get to take a small plaque and other prizes home with you at the end of the season. Yeah. And we're still doing the Phoenix Hawk Memorial Award, the Good Egg Award, and the Master Tactician. Names may be a little bit different than what they used to be, but yeah, we are still doing those 3 prizes. Well, Stu, I really want to thank you for joining us for this Halloween special. It's always been good to talk to you, and we really do appreciate everything you've done for League. And I look forward to interviewing you again sometime in the future. Happy Halloween, buddy.
Well, fight fans, that's it for this week in our special episode. Hope you guys that have children enjoy taking them out for trick-or-treating. Have yourselves a good night. Hope we don't have a typical Canadian Halloween where you have to put the snowsuit on under the Halloween costumes. And also, don't forget, this is the time of year when the little kids get to learn about taxes. It's 30% dad tax. Never forget that. Have yourselves a good couple of weeks. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for tricking out with us tonight. We hope you have enjoyed this little treat. Something a little different, but we want to wish you all a happy All Hallows Eve. Coming at you like a shot to the cockpit. Good night, and lights out.